Okay, well, to be fair, 2024 doesn't really have that many movies that I'm interested in compared to 2023. So maybe the 2024 ranking will be shorter.
Huh. I actually got something right for once. Alright, you all know how it works at this point. This is my opinion, so don't hate me if I don't like a movie that you like. I didn't see every movie that came out last year, so some movies that you like are probably not going to be on here. So there's going to be no Challengers, no Moana 2, and unfortunately, no Borderlands, because we all know in our hearts that if I saw it, it would be number 1 on the list. Borderlands doesn't make the list because it's too good for it. Anyways, let's get started with this list. The worst movie that I saw in 2024 is... Okay, like, are you even surprised? I knew this movie was gonna be bad, but oh my god, I didn't expect it to be this bad. Sony really said, okay, so people didn't like Morbius, so why don't we make a movie worse than Morbius? And god damn it, they somehow did it. I guess I'll start with the worst part of the movie. The dialogue here is actually so unbelievably bad that I don't believe an actual human wrote this. The dialogue made me want to shoot my brains out. That would have been less painful than sitting through this movie. The camera work and editing is also horrible. The editing cuts all over the place, and I swear to god, during the quote-unquote action scenes, the camera would just randomly zoom in. And I don't know if that's part of the movie. I watched this illegally, so maybe the zoom-ins were just the guy recording, but I'm pretty sure it's the actual movie itself. Speaking of watching this illegally, this movie was so bad that when the Slots Lights ad came on, I actually felt relieved. The ad saved me from a dog shit movie for like 30 seconds. The villain is also probably one of the worst villains I've seen in a comic book movie. He has superhuman strength or something, yet he doesn't do jack shit with it. He just kind of walks and crawls on ceilings. He doesn't even have a backstory. He's just a bad guy. Great writing, Sony. Well done. The actors and actresses all do their best with what they were given, but they most likely gave up halfway through once they realized this is a shit movie. And it also doesn't help that the dialogue and the directing makes her acting like 5 times worse. Someone would talk to someone else, pause for like 5 seconds, and then the other person would talk like what? Time also just straight up doesn't exist in this movie. Madam Web is talking about how she needs to go to Peru, and this motherfucker just goes to Peru. And then a few minutes later, she just comes back like, do you know how long it takes to get to fucking Peru and back? Remember the spider suits that were so heavily advertised? Well, they were only in the movie for 30 seconds at most. Great marketing, Sony. The way they explain Madam Web's power sucks. Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. And when I finally did get it, all of a sudden, she can just talk to the villain with her mind. How? And why? They also say that Madam Web is on the run from the police because they think she kidnapped these girls, but the movie just doesn't care enough to fix this problem or at least address it. She also stole a taxi and an ambulance, but that doesn't seem to be a problem, so oh fucking well. They also can't decide if they want to connect to Spider-Man or not. I can tell they took a lot of stuff out related to Spider-Man, yet they still threw small little references, and it's like, holy shit, commit or don't commit, what are you doing? Peter Parker's mom, Mary Parker, is pregnant, and at the baby shower, she almost says Peter's name, and then a balloon pops. Like, holy shit, it's a reference to Peter Parker, whoa! Uncle Ben is also in this movie, but he contributes basically nothing to the film, so why talk about him? They also changed the "with great power comes great responsibility" line with some bullshit, and I want to find the writers of this film, and I want to beat the shit out of them. The ending also sucks, where Madam Web is blind now because she's blind in the comics, so she's gotta be blind here. And she just acts like a completely different character now. And they reveal her suit, and it looks so bad that it's actually hilarious. I know I'm nitpicking a lot and jumping around in random places, but like, I think that just kind of shows how bad this movie is. The only good part is that it's unintentionally hilarious. This movie only exists so Sony can keep the rights for Spider-Man because they like money, even though this movie flopped, so way to go, you dipshits. But yeah, this movie makes Morbius look like Citizen Kane. I've seen a lot of people really like Despicable Me 4, and like, what? I'm glad people had a better experience with this movie, because with me, I did not like this. I think it's better than the third movie and the first Minions, but that's not saying much. The kids and Lucy don't do much. The new villain girl is annoying, and it's just an overall very generic movie that I don't have much to say about. It's totally not because I forgot most of the movie, no, what are you talking about? But I will say, I like the villain here. since he actually had a personal connection to Gru. Just kind of wish he was written a little bit better, and that ending was really nice. It seems like a really good conclusion to the franchise. It probably isn't though, because this makes Illumination way too much money. But overall, this is just another generic kids movie. My favorite part was when a ship crashed into a building and someone in the theater screamed Allah Akbar. Yeah. I am not the target audience for this movie. So you might be asking, why did you see this anyway? The answer is, I don't know. But yeah, this movie is bad. This movie is about domestic violence, yet the direction it was going made it feel like a rom-com, which yeah, let's not do that. If you're trying to portray domestic violence, maybe don't romanticize it, because that's really distasteful. The dialogue in this movie is absolutely horrible. Like, it rivals Madam Web with how bad it is. Like, this movie has probably one of the worst title drops I've ever seen in a movie. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say. I kind of forgot this movie existed. There were a few moments and some decent performances, but overall, this is just a bad and forgettable movie. Fuck Colleen Hoover. I saw a lot of people really liking this new Venom movie, which, cool, good for you. I didn't like this movie. But I can't lie, this movie is really fun. It's not one of those so bad it's good movies, but it felt like it was trying to be that, and it was pretty close. Eddie and Venom's dynamic was the best part, and everything else kinda sucks. Actually, the action was pretty cool, but other than that, the story is a mess, the villain is basically non-existent, and it's mostly those weird monsters doing all the work, and they're very forgettable. This family on a road trip were cute, but they did not need to be in the movie. Also, there's this one scene where Venom comes out to dance with Miss Chen, even though he knows that if he does that, the monster thing will find them, but he does it anyway, and it's like, why? That's one of the main conflicts of the movie, that they just threw away for this stupid dance scene. I also did not care for any of the characters besides Eddie and Venom. Also, the fact that Endon used Memories by Maroon 5 had me bursting out laughing. I don't think that was the right song choice. I also don't think the jokes were funny. I only found this movie funny when the batshit crazy stuff was happening. This movie is just a giant mess, but it's an entertaining mess. Yeah, this movie is not good. There's way too many characters that it's hard to keep track of them. The villain is so built up to only have 4 minutes of screen time, and it's just way too overbloated with fan service. It just feels like the writers are jiggling keys in front of you for 2 hours. But it has a decent subplot with McKenna Grace character and her ghost friend. And let me tell you, McKenna Grace carries this movie so hard. But yeah, it's still a fun movie, but it suffers with too much characters and fan service. I know this movie is pretty low on the list, but this is still the best movie of the year. This movie is so fucking stupid, and it is so much fun. It's like if they took the stupid and fun elements of Godzilla vs. Kong and crank it up to 20. There's so many things that had me dying of laughter, like the anti-gravity fight, Godzilla sleeping in the Coliseum, and Kong using a literal fucking child monkey as nunchucks. But the human stuff is still terrible and probably the worst it's ever been. I wish they used Godzilla more, and the only reason why he turned pink is because of merchandise, and I feel like the movie could have been a little bit shorter. But other than that, this movie is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, but it is so much fun. Kung Fu Panda 4 disappointed me so much. It's fine as a regular kids movie, but as a Kung Fu Panda movie, my god, what happened here? You're telling me out of all the people Po could have chosen to be the next Dragon Warrior, he chose the fucking Awkwafina Fox? What happened to the Furious 5? Oh, it's because they didn't want to pay the voice actors. And the whole returning villain thing is such bullshit. They hyped up the return of Tai Lung only for him to get 5 minutes of screen time. And then he's like, maybe I was wrong about you, Po. Maybe you were meant to be the Dragon Warrior. That's not part of his character! Tai Lung wouldn't fucking switch up so fast considering he's been wanting this position for his entire life. And Po fucking defeated him, and he's most likely still salty about that. I feel like the writers completely misunderstood his character here. The same with Lord Shen. He's a fucking genocidal maniac. He wouldn't just let Po go just like that. Also, the villain in this movie is the worst in the entire series. What a waste of Viola Davis. My favorite part was the Lee and Mr. Ping side plot. It was more interesting than the actual plot with Po and Awkwafina Fox. Also, Sheeple had nothing to do here. In fact, he had almost nothing to do in the last 2 movies. They should have just killed him off in the first movie. I know I'm complaining a lot about a very okay movie, but this is coming from the Kung Fu Panda franchise. The franchise that has some of the most mature moments and themes in animation history. So I think you can kinda understand why this movie pissed me off. Overall, this movie is fun and fine, it's just really disappointing to me. This movie's okay. Kingsley Ben-Adir gives a great performance as Bob Marley, and so did Lashana Lynch. The music was also incredible, but other than that, I feel like everything else was just okay. It's just another standard and boring biopic. I feel like they should have focused more on Bob Marley's life and less on the music. Don't get me wrong, I love the music, and some of the music making process was pretty interesting, but it feels like they focus on Bob Marley's life a lot less. But other than that, it's just another standard biopic. I think my bias towards this musical put this a lot higher. I'm not gonna lie, I think the original musical is pretty bad. But the reason why I have a bias towards it is because I was in a theater program and one of the shows we performed was Mean Girls. And I think performing the show made me like it a lot more. I don't know, I'm weird. I'll get back to that later. The movie is fine. It obviously doesn't compare to the original movie. The performances are good, especially Renee Rapp as Regina George. Some jokes are funny and others are not. The choreography could have been better. The music could have been better. And yeah, let's just talk about the musical aspect. I feel like the movie's ashamed to be an adaptation of the original musical. I feel like this is less of an adaptation of the Broadway show and more of a remake of the original movie with occasional musical numbers. And man, they did the musical aspects dirty. Most of the songs in the movie only last for like a minute, when the original songs in the Broadway show is like 3 minutes. Why bother adding the song in if you're just gonna cut most of it? The songs just sound worse than they did in the original show. For example, Stupid with Love. It just sounds like shit now. It has no emotion anymore. It sounds like a song Danny Gonzalez would make as a joke. They also cut Where Do You Belong, which is my favorite song from the musical. That song is a banger. Why would you cut it? I don't know why I'm talking so much. I really don't care that much. But anyway, yeah, I performed a version of this when I was in a theater program and I played Aaron. If you know the original musical, then you know he sings. So I had to sing. And it was very traumatizing because I'm not a singer. Also, my brother tackled me on stage. This movie's okay. Michael Caine's performance as Beetlejuice is still incredible. He really hasn't missed a beat, and everyone else also gives a good performance, especially Catherine O'Hara. I think the stop motion and the practical effects are really good and help the movie feel close to the original. However, there's a lot of stuff that bothers me. First off, what was the point of the subplot with Beetlejuice's ex-wife? I feel like it added almost nothing to the movie and it was basically pointless. I also feel like Willem Dafoe's character was also pointless. Don't get me wrong, he's great in this, and you can tell that he was having a lot of fun with this role. But did his character really add anything? I just also didn't laugh much at this movie. I'm not trying to say the movie isn't funny, because it is. Like that scene where everyone is lip syncing over a song killed me. But I just didn't find myself laughing at most of the jokes. Maybe it's just because I'm depressed, I don't really know. Overall, Beetlejuice is just okay. Justice for Bob, by the way, what they did to him was really fucked up. Saturday Night is a pretty good and chaotic movie. The best part about this movie is easily the cast and their performances. Everyone does a really good job, especially Dylan O'Brien as Dan Aykroyd and Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase. This movie is also funny because of how chaotic it is. Like holy hell, it is a miracle that SNL ended up becoming huge. And man, those last 15 minutes were really good. I was on the edge of my seat. But honestly, those elements are what carried this movie hard. The first act was fine, but the second act really started to lose me. Despite still being chaotic, it also felt weirdly slow. But overall, I had a good time with Saturday Night, but I think it's mostly the final 15 minutes and the cast performances that carry the movie. I was pleasantly surprised with Trap. This movie is a lot of things. It's suspenseful, entertaining, and downright stupid. Josh Hartnett gives a really good performance here as the killer. Like he's over the top, but not to the point where it takes you out of the movie. He's definitely the highlight. This movie is also really funny. Like a lot of the scenes had me laughing here, whether it was intentional or not. I also like the cinematography here, but now I'm gonna have to talk about my complaints. The dialogue is actually horrible. Like there's so many scenes of characters talking that just feel like M. Night Shyamalan imagining how people talk these days. I also have a lot of problems with the third act because god damn it, it was so close to being amazing. Like first of all, the singer just coming to their house is really stupid. Like that's where the movie lost me because it's hard to take that seriously. And I'm sorry, I know the actress for the singer is M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, but her acting was pretty bad. But once everyone finds out that Josh Hartnett is the killer, it starts to get good again. But it could have been great if they fleshed out the wife's character more. There's a sequence where the killer is talking to his wife, and I feel like the whole sequence would have been incredible if we got to know the wife more. Overall, I think Trap is good, but god damn it, it was really damn close to being great. Piece by Piece is such a weird movie. It's a Pharrell Williams documentary, but in Lego. It's such a weird but creative concept, and for the most part, it works. This movie is bursting with creativity. There's so much vibrant colors and beautiful animation that you just really can't take your eyes off the screen. There's also just a lot of passion behind this project, and it doesn't feel like a piece of corporate trash. I also like the small visual gags here, and I'm surprised how mature this movie got despite being a Lego movie. Like, we really got Black Lives Matter protests in the Lego movie. However, I also found the movie to be very generic because of its documentary format. If it wasn't for the Lego animation, then it would have been just another average documentary. Also, I needed more Kendrick Lamar. I was very disappointed when he only got like 30 seconds of screen time. Overall, Piece by Piece is good. I just think that it suffers from being an average documentary outside the Lego stuff. This is a cute and funny movie. The animation is beautiful, I love the characters, I love Bond, I love that stupid ass dog, and this is just a really fun movie. Also, I love how unserious and batshit stupid the third act is. Like, they made it way too cinematic for a dumb joke. You need to watch it to understand. I really recommend it. You don't even need to watch the original anime in order to understand this. This movie completely works on its own. It's a great way to get into the series. It has great action, great comedy, great characters. Just go watch it. It's a fun time. I am so pissed off that The Fall Guy flopped at the box office because it is honestly such a great time. The action is absolutely fantastic, and it's just a big love letter to stunt performers. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt have such good chemistry together that I kinda wanted more from the rom-com subplot. This movie is also just hilarious. There were a lot of scenes where I was laughing out loud. But I think the twist, if you can even call it that, with the villain was really predictable. Like, bro, I'm not that stupid. I kinda saw that coming. I also think there were too many parts going on at once and it made the movie feel like a mess. But all of that doesn't really matter because I just had so much fun watching this. Go see it, it's a damn good time. Deadpool and Wolverine is also a really fun time. Deadpool and Wolverine have really good chemistry together and they're great on screen. The action is great, but not as strong as the other two movies. The cameos don't feel forced. The opening scene is probably the greatest opening scene in any MCU movie. And the jokes are funny, but the fourth wall breaks are starting to get a little annoying. Out of the two movies of these jokes, I think they're starting to overstay their welcome. Like, some of them are fine, like the proposal joke killed me, but I found most of them to be unfunny. I also found the story and the pacing to be an absolute mess. Like, it just feels like a bunch of plot lines crammed together. I also did not care for the villain at all. I mean, she's fine, but like, she's not special at all. I also wish they did more with Deadpool's friends from the past two movies. Like, I grew to like them after two movies. I kinda wanna see them more, especially since Deadpool's main motive is to save his friends since his world was dying. Yeah, honestly, this movie is kind of a mess, but I really don't care. I came into this movie expecting nothing but a fun buddy movie with great action, and that's exactly what I got. So yeah, I like this movie. It absolutely succeeds in what it's trying to be, which is a fun buddy movie. Monkey Man is such a great movie. I think as his directorial debut, Dev Patel knocked it out of the park. You can tell there's so much passion and love behind this movie. The cinematography was excellent, and man, the action one was so thrilling. I was blown away just watching the action scenes. The choreography for these fights was so good. Really, my only problem with this was the shaky cam. It starts to get annoying, but it's not too big of a problem. Dev Patel broke his hand and toes and tore his shoulder, and got an eye infection while making this. That is insane dedication. I have so much respect for Dev Patel after this. Overall, this is a great action movie. I know this is a short film, but it just felt right to include this on here. Plus, I included the MCU holiday specials in my 2022 ranking, so shut up. Look Back is such a powerful film. The characters are so realistic and personal that it's scary. And holy hell, that ending hurts so bad. I won't lie, it was a little predictable, but that doesn't change the fact of how good and emotional it was. Alright, so this might be the most controversial thing I see in this video, but I didn't completely love the art style of this film. Don't get me wrong, I like it, it's great, but I don't love it. I don't know, maybe it's just me. But yeah, Look Back is great. I never want to see it again though, because oh my god. It's crazy that the same person who made this also made Chainsaw Man. Huh, weird. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, that's right. I put this silly robot movie over Look Back. What are you gonna do, huh? This is my list. I can do whatever the fuck I want. You can't stop me! Transformers 1 is definitely the biggest surprise of the year for me. From the trailers, it looked like a generic dumbass kids movie, but when you watch the movie, it's actually really good. The animation and action is great. Like, that third act is probably one of the best third acts of the year. Chris Hemsworth started off okay as Optimus Prime, but as the movie goes on, he just gets better and better, and his voice slowly grows into the Optimus Prime we know. But man, Ryan Tyree Henry as Megatron absolutely stole the show for me. Optimus and Megatron's relationship just works so well here. Them going from best friends to mortal enemies is so compelling, and although I do wish it was built upon more, it was still written so well. The moment where Megatron drops Optimus had my jaw on the floor, and the fact that I had that kind of reaction even though I saw it coming is impressive. I think that just shows how good of a prequel this is. Scarlett Johansson and Keegan-Michael Key weren't that great here, and on that topic, I didn't really like Bumblebee here. His character is just mostly jokes, and I didn't find most of those jokes funny. And yeah, the movie's humor isn't that great. I also didn't really enjoy the first act. I mean, it's fine, but like, it's not that good either. But man, the movie just kept getting better and better. Overall, Transformers 1 is a great movie and a great prequel that deserved to do better in the box office, but didn't because the marketing was so ass, because instead of showing the actual great moments of the movie, they showed Bumblebee being an absolute jackass. It's crazy how a guy on Twitter marketed the movie better than the actual marketing team. Oh well, good movie. Watching A Quiet Place Day 1 in theaters was probably the best and worst decision I've ever made in my life. During one of the really silent scenes, someone in the audience sneezed and it scared the actual hell out of me. I'm not good with horror movies. Anyways, the movie was good. Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn were very good in this. Also, I don't know why everyone hates Joseph Quinn. Like, every time news comes out for the new Fantastic Four movie, I just see everyone shitting on him, and like, why do you guys hate him? He's a good actor, I don't get it. I think when it comes to this suspenseful, intense moments, the movie delivers very well. I was on the edge of my seat anytime that stupid fucking cat was in danger. How is that cat so chill? If my dog was in this situation, he'd get us all killed immediately. I'm also shocked at how much emotion was in this film. My only real complaint is that the movie doesn't really do much to expand the Quiet Place universe. For me, it just feels like, here's how people in New York City reacted to the alien invasion. Also, the main character's motivation does make sense and it is kind of relatable, but I also thought it was kind of stupid, but it's not really a problem. Overall, A Quiet Place Day 1 is a great film that I had a good time with. Making it into the top 10 is Inside Out 2, a movie I didn't expect to be as good as it is. I like the new emotions here, I think they're fun characters. I also like how we got more of Fear and Disgust. I grew to like the characters more. But a character that I really cared for a lot more than the first movie is Riley. In the first movie, Riley just kind of felt like a robot and I didn't really find her that interesting. But in here, she feels like an actual person and I really cared for her storyline. Maybe it's because I relate to her a lot more here, I don't know. I also really like how anxiety is portrayed here. It's handled in a funny but also mature way. The animation is also really good, but it's Pixar, you already know that. The other different animation styles were also very cool though. It does feel like a rehash of the first movie sometimes, and I feel like the first movie handles some elements better. I didn't think the movie was that funny, and the emotional moments, while still being very good, just didn't really hit as hard as the original. I think the first movie overall is better, but that's not really a bad thing at all. Inside Out 2 is still great, and definitely the best Pixar sequel besides Toy Story. I was so surprised at how much I enjoyed Twisters. Like, it is seriously such a good time. It has fun action, fun characters with some actually well developed character arcs, and it does a good job at showing how damn scary tornadoes are. Like, I never really gave tornadoes a second thought until I saw this movie, and now I'm like, oh shit, tornadoes are actually terrifying. It does take a pretty big leap in logic at times. Like, I feel like tornadoes just spawn in regularly like Pokemon in this movie. But overall, this movie is such a great time and I don't have too much to say about it. I Saw the TV Glow is probably the most underrated movie of the year for me. I don't know, I just don't see enough people talk about it. The movie just looks beautiful. I freaking love the visuals in this movie. It's so nice to look at. The soundtrack perfectly captures the feeling and tone of the movie, and Justice Smith gives a really damn good performance here. I also love how damn unsettling this movie is. It's a horror movie, but it doesn't scare you by cheap jump scares, but by really making you think. It's a very thought-provoking movie, and the more I deeply thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. You always get that uneasy feeling while watching this movie because even though nothing is happening, something just doesn't feel right, and I love when a movie could do that. And man, that ending was just excellent. I do wish the movie balanced the story and the theme more, and it does feel slow a bunch of times, but overall, this movie is great. If you're someone that hates this movie just because of its transgender themes, then f*** you, you're a piece of shit. This movie convinced me to stand in the road and wait to get hit by a car so I can get into a relationship. We Live in Time is a sad A24 movie, so that automatically means I like it. That's a joke, by the way. Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh are so good in this, and their chemistry is great. There was also surprisingly a lot of humor in this, which was appreciated because of the really sad scenes. I think having most scenes be out of order works well for the theme of the movie, but it was very confusing for me at first. Eventually I got used to it and it ended up working for me, but I can totally understand the people that didn't like this aspect. I also think the ending was really strong, but if the scene lasted longer, then it would have had a really big emotional impact on me. Like, I was already really sad, but if it just lasted longer, then I would have been an emotional wreck. But yeah, I really like Live in Time, but it's definitely not for everyone, and that's fine. Anyway, moving on to Sonic 3! Hell yeah! Best movie of all time! Woo! Yeah, I put the Blue Hedgehog movie in my top 10. Hell, it would have made my top 5 if I didn't see this one movie last minute. I don't give a shit about what you say, the movie's good! Maybe it's recency bias, but I freaking love Sonic 3. It's so good. Jim Carrey playing both Robotnik was incredible, and I will be very pissed off when he inevitably gets snubbed for an Oscar nomination. Dr. Robotnik also got the best character arc in the movie, which I was not expecting. Keanu Reeves as Shadow was perfect casting, and I think that he handled his backstory with Maria very well and maturely. Every character is also used very well, and each of them gets their own moment to shine, and I like that. The action was also just spectacular, and man, I just want to talk about the third act. The third act is probably one of, if not, the best third act of the year. I'm a very simple man. I see Flying Hedgehog, I like it. The third act was just straight up incredible. The action, the soundtrack, everything about it was just so fucking good. Like, guys, he literally pissed on the moon! Really, my only complaint is most of Sonic's quips and one-liners. Like, most of the movie's jokes are actually really funny, but Sonic's quips are just really cringy and not funny. I also kinda wish the movie wasn't so in your face with its themes. Those themes are great, don't get me wrong. I just wish the movie was more subtle with it so the audience could figure it out themselves. But overall, this is such a good video game adaptation and a huge win for Sonic fans and video game movies. This is definitely the best video game movie I've ever seen, and I don't think they're gonna top it. That post-credit scene was incredible, and I'm very excited for Sonic 4, but it's gonna be really hard to outdo this one. Flow is an absolute masterpiece in visual storytelling. The animals were able to convey so much thought and emotion without saying a single word. And also, oh my god, the animation is incredible. Every frame looks like it was painted on a canvas. It looks absolutely beautiful. This was made on a $3 million budget. An animated movie with a $3 million budget looking this beautiful is very impressive. The characters are able to have such memorable personalities without saying anything. Like the lemur is a zesty diva and the nonchalant capybara just doesn't give a shit about anything. Like they were able to capture how animals act in real life into this movie so well. I just really like animals, can you blame me? I want to go to Capybara Cafe. Also, the score was really good. It really helped highlight the mood of the scene. Overall, Flow is a triumph in visual storytelling and indie animation. If this wins Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, I would not be mad at all. Spoiler for later on in the list, but there's this one animated movie I really love, and I really hope it wins the Oscar. But if this wins instead, I wouldn't complain at all. It already deservingly won the Golden Globe, so we'll see where it goes from here. Wicked is really good. At first I was concerned about this movie because the runtime is basically the same as the entire Broadway play and it was only doing Act 1, but no, somehow the pacing in this movie is really good. I don't know how they did it. But because this is being separated into two parts, that means they can use all the songs from the play, which is really cool. The movie did not cut any songs from the first act, unlike another movie musical that came out this year. Also, since the movie didn't need to rush anything, it was able to let moments go on longer to impact the audience more without feeling rushed. For example, Elphaba and Glinda's dance together. This scene was just excellent, and it was because they didn't need to rush onto the next scene and they were able to take their time with it. Okay, I kind of went on a tangent about the patient, but the pacing is really good. That's all I needed to say. Cynthia Erivo gives a really strong performance as Elzeba, and man, those vocals are incredible. Jonathan Bailey gives a really good and charismatic performance, and he's also hot. But holy shit, Ariana Grande stole the show for me. Her singing was obviously great, like no shit, but I was surprised at how good her acting was. She was really funny, and you can genuinely see the emotion in her eyes during the emotional bits. I know she was on Nickelodeon in that one movie that everyone forgot about, but still, I was surprised that she was this good in this. The music is incredible, obviously, and the choreography, while not too impressive, is still really good and satisfying to look at. My only issue with the movie is the lighting. Yeah, the lighting here is really bad. I think the first half of Defying Gravity would have been a lot better if the lighting wasn't so damn bright. I mean, the second half of the song more than makes up for it, so like, who really gives a shit? But still, there were multiple scenes in the movie where the lighting is so bad that it just makes the scene not pleasant to look at. But other than that, this movie is amazing. If you don't like musicals, then this movie is definitely not for you, but whatever, I liked it. I'm a little bit concerned for part 2, simply because I think Act 2 in the original play was a bit of a mess and not great. So I hope they can improve on some of the aspects in this movie adaptation. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say part 2? I meant to say Wicked for Good. Seriously, why did they change the title? Just call it Wicked Part 2. Like, you already called this first movie Wicked Part 1, so just call the second movie Wicked Part 2. Like, Dune Part 1 is called Dune Part 1. You don't see the second movie changing its title to Dune the Fuckable Popcorn Bucket. It's like, what the hell? It's so stupid. I am so mad that I didn't see Furiosa in theaters because, my god, this movie is amazing. It also flopped in the box office, so I'm a part of the problem. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, this movie is great. The action is incredible, which is obviously not a surprise, it's a Mad Max movie. The cinematography is also gorgeous, which isn't also much of a surprise. I don't know, man. Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa is really good, and I just really like Furiosa as a character now. I mean, I already liked her in Fury Road, but this movie just made me like her even more. And man, Chris Hemsworth as Dementus was amazing. He did such a good job at playing an unhinged psychopath. And yeah, this is just a really fun and engaging revenge story. I can't wait for the next Mad Max movie when that comes out in like 2047. Anyways, I think that's enough talking about Sand. Let's talk about something else.
Psych, bitch! I'm not done talking about Sand. Sand is fucking cool. And you know what else is cool? Motherfucking Dune 2! Look at the people riding the worms. That's fucking sick! Look at the cool black and white scene in Austin Butler's bald head. Look at Timothée Chalamet's sick-ass speech. I am Paul Atreides, Duke of Arrakis, and I like to make love to Popcorn Bucket.
Dune Part 2 is incredible. Watching this in theaters was absolutely breathtaking. It was definitely my favorite cinema experience this year. This makes the first movie look like shit. Don't get me wrong, I like the first Dune movie, but man, it is extremely slow and it's mainly just a bunch of setting up. But man, that setting up was worth it because oh my god, this movie is so good. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful. So many shots in this had me in awe. The visuals are incredible. The action is so captivating. And holy hell, that score had me levitating. Paul Atreides is such a great and interesting character. His arc is incredible and it makes so much sense. And it also helps that Timothée Chalamet's performance is really freaking good. I got goosebumps during his speech. I never thought I'd be intimidated by the same guy who played that SoundCloud artist on SNL. And wow, Chani's actually a character this time, what a shock. But yeah, she's also good. Zendaya gives a good performance. I was surprised at how much I like Javier Bardem in this. I don't know why, he's a freaking Oscar winner. But yeah, he's also really good here, and I thought that him constantly meet Ryan Paul was really funny. And oh my god, Austin Butler gives such a good and terrifying performance in this. I wish we got a little bit more of him because of how damn good he was. Overall, Dune 2 is an instant sci-fi classic. It had me engaged and hooked throughout the entire 2-hour and 40-minute runtime. This would easily be number 1 on my list. But there is one other film that I like a little bit more. The Wild Robot is a masterpiece. You might be a little shocked that I put this in number 1, and to that I say, shut up, I don't care. The animation is beautiful. It takes the same art style as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and wow, it really works here. Lupita Nyong'o, Pedro Pascal, and everyone else in the cast do such a good job at voicing their characters. And those characters are really good and engaging. Seeing Roz learn how to parent and seeing Bright Bill learn how to fly was so heartwarming. Also, I thought they were going to do an autism metaphor with Bright Bill. Just gonna throw that out there. Anyways, let's talk about the music. Oh my god, the music. The music is absolutely beautiful. I also surprisingly like the humor here. It was really dark, yet it really fit because, well, nature is really dark. And man, I just want to talk about that migration scene. The migration scene is absolutely beautiful. I was in the theater watching this and it got me feeling all kinds of things. I was smiling, I was on the verge of tears. It moved me. My only complaint is that the pacing was very off. I feel like it didn't really know how to take its time. Some scenes felt too fast or too slow. But the problem is so minor that it doesn't even matter. Overall, The Wild Robot is a beautiful story about parenting, family, and nature. It's one of DreamWorks' best movies, and it's the best movie I saw in 2024. So that's the list. Overall, 2024 was a really weird year for movies. We got a Pharrell Williams Lego biopic, Jack Black making a Britney Spears cover, The Horse from We Live in Time, popcorn buckets you can stick your dick into, and only one good comic book movie. But I think 2025 is going to be a banger year for movies. Like, we're getting a new Superman movie, the Michael Jackson biopic, and maybe cinema was a mistake.